No long intro, folks. Now, in today's video, I'll be answering a few questions most of you probably have. Where have I been? What have I been up to since it's been well over a year since my last video? And in today's video, I'll be showing you guys what I've been up to, and especially explaining some of the few reasons why I left what I was doing beforehand, which most of you guys know was trading. But in today's mind map, I'll show you guys how I pretty much started from 0 to 25K monthly revenue from my e-commerce business, and essentially how I plan on taking it from the 25K to 100K over the next few months. And of course, simple reason why I left trading: it wasn't scalable, wasn't sustainable, and as I get older, hey man, I need to build a legit business, something I can actually go to the bank for. Um, Not saying trading doesn't make money. I've made thousands of dollars from trading. I actually made thousands this year, even though that wasn't my primary goal. But as a young man, I think I started trading back when I was 17, all the way to 20. As I get older, I start to realize, okay, if I don't actively trade in the markets, I don't make money. That's not the kind of business I want to build over the long term. Not even close. I want to actually build something where I can actually step out at the end of it. It may take 5 or 10, maybe 20 years to get to that point, but I actually want to build a business that doesn't require me to be present. Trading is not a transferable skill. You can't train one of your managers to trade like you do. Impossible. That doesn't happen. And that's not something you can go to the bank for, get a line of credit or anything like that. And realistically, man, having a hedge fund, that's certainly possible down the line. But raising capital and all these things as a 19-year-old, that's a pipe dream. And understanding the landscape when it comes to the prop firms. And I left before the prop firm started to burn down, like most of you guys know. It's super tricky. It's essentially gambling. Um, and I just looked at the results and I looked at the people having taken 20 plus challenges, if not more, and just seeing, man, this is super tough. And trading essentially limited my skills to such a small degree to where 90% of who I was and the men that I am capable of wasn't useful in trading. I'm simply just sitting here looking at a screen, and all I can do is buy and sell. And trust me, guys, I'm so much better than that. I have 101 things I could possibly do, but trading only requires me to do only two. So it's like I have this arsenal of so many things I know of that I can actually do, but trading is not even useful in that business model. So understanding that it wasn't good for me psychologically, limiting myself, and long term it was like, yeah, no. So long story short, that's why I left. Doesn't mean I don't love it. I still have a portfolio. I still manage clients' portfolios and stuff. But trying to actually sustain my lifestyle with trading, no, that's a no-go. So I left and started an Amazon business. Now, first question we'll answer is, why exactly did I start an Amazon business? There's a lot of businesses you can do out there, home-based businesses. You can have an agency, software, SMMA, all these different things. Why exactly an Amazon business? So we'll actually take a look at why. So first reason is because it's a huge marketplace, guys. It's a big, big, big marketplace, and when it comes to how big exactly it is, we'll see exactly how big fairly shortly, and I'll show you some of the statistics here. Um, so first of all, Amazon right now has around 9.3 million sellers. That's worldwide, of course, but only 2.3 million of them are active on the marketplace. So that's a huge number, but only actually 2 million people are actually active. And active, they just have an active account. Doesn't mean they're actually are serious about it. And in the U.S., there's only 1.1 million that are actually active on the marketplace. And you start to see how it starts to shrink a little bit. So competition gets a little bit smaller. And out of that 1.1 million, 61%, or not that, but 61% of all sales on Amazon is actually from independent sellers. So we're talking about third party sellers like myself and others that actually sell in the marketplace. So even though Amazon's a $140 billion yearly revenue business, out of that 140, 61% of those sales are actually from third party sellers. Now, for me, I like to think I'm smart and I think I can actually get a piece of that 140 billion. I'm probably not going to get 100 or 40, but I can probably get a small fraction of that in a few years and start to scale that and actually build a sustainable business. And actually, when you even look at the average seller in Amazon, average by the way, does 230 in sales. So we're talking about $230,000 in revenue on an annual basis. And now that's revenue, that's not profit. Most businesses on Amazon are probably 20% net, if that, some are 15, right? So don't think that's like big money, but compare that to trading where most guys, I mean 98, not even 98, but so many guys are just losing money on a year to year basis. It's teenagers just trying to make quick money. Nobody that's serious is actually doing this stuff. And the successful guys that you see, they flaunt their lifestyle, they have the nice cars, but guess what? They sell courses. And even about the only guy I really respect, guess what? He sold a mentorship. He has a YouTube channel. So trading overall just it doesn't work. Not the way you probably think it will. Not the way you think it's gonna be your way out. No. Now I know guys like ETN, for example, he has different portfolios and he set up robots and AIs and stuff that trades his portfolios, which is good. That works, right? There's a small percent of guys that can make it work to where it's sustainable. But man, it is so hard. A lot of it has to do with luck. You have to get money from some other source, either selling courses or maybe building a channel. Then you start to invest in that. Now your psychology is a little bit better because you're not in that what's the what's the word for it? I can't find the specific word I'm looking for. But you're not in that deficit state of mind. There's a better word for it, all right? But when you're not struggling, it's way easier to actually trade because psychologically you're not so tight with the money. You don't really care. You can actually follow your rules a little bit better compared to when you're trying to make it. It's not like that at all. You watch every dollar, you lose one trade, your whole day is ruined. That used to happen to me. It happens to a lot of other guys that still trade. Now, when it comes to Amazon as well, 55% of Amazon sellers report monthly sales of over $5,000. 55, so that's half. And now, of course, it's sales, not profit, but it shows you the business itself actually works. Because if 55% of the people can do something, it means it's pretty simple, man. Because 55% of people, these aren't the top. These are just irregular people just doing the bare minimum. And they're getting results like these. So don't think that this is something that's hard. And I just realized, by the way, that half of my screen wasn't showing. So I'll go ahead and adjust this. So these are some of the statistics. And when you look at it, you start to build a case. Okay, this is something I can essentially go into and actually dominate and actually grow. And actually it doesn't have to limit some of my skills. And we'll actually see a little bit more data here. So over 60,000 sellers on Amazon surpassed $1 million in sales. 60,000. Imagine that. 60,000 people can do this. 60,000 traders haven't surpassed making $1 million in sales. Even the guys on Wall Street. Just think about that. And of course, that's sales. And of course, it's not talking about on a yearly basis. That's across their lifetime, right? So be careful with the data. But this just shows you the business itself works. And 70% of sellers became profitable. And that's within the first year. Within the first year. Imagine that. How long does it take the average trader to become profitable? What, 3 to 4 years, right? And even then, that's not a guarantee. You have good months and you have bad months. But I'm not trying to compare the two, but I do want to make a strong case for a lot of you guys. Probably still going to be because that's what my channel used to be about, and you think it's going to be about trading when it's not. It's not going to be about that at all. Just be careful. No. And only 4% of Amazon sellers have earned revenue between 5 and 10 million. So 4%, 5 and 10 million. Now this is what I'm trying to get to. And it's actually not that hard as you break down the math. It's simple. It just takes a lot of work. And I'll show you guys some of the plans that I have for the next few years. So keep that in mind. So this is essentially the foundation. This is a business model that works, that I think I can dominate, and I'll show you how I plan on doing that. And essentially, you guys can comment and ask any questions that you may have. So that's the first part of it. So that's why I chose this business. Super scalable and long term, makes a whole lot of sense. And money, I guess, as well. So now let's actually take a look at how has my business done so far. So this is where most of the stuff is going to come from. So we'll open this up to see what mine has done so far. So the first year results. So my first year on Amazon, let's see how much my revenue was. About 169,000. And I looked at the math. It was from May to May. So I did from May to May, and that was the result. This is revenue, by the way. And net, the actual payout, so that I actually received from Amazon was about 106,000 and a few change. So that's actually going back into my Amazon account and seeing all the money that they've actually paid me. And now when I look at it, I never had that money in my business checking like all at once, right? So when I look at them, I'm like, really? It didn't feel like it, right? Because you get it in chunks, 500 there, 2,000 there, because they pay you based on the sales and stuff, and it changes. You don't sell everything in one day. So hopefully you get the point. But this is the revenue and this is the net. And of course, that's not about, that's not including all the expenses and stuff. We'll actually get into that pretty soon. But now let's keep going. So expenses, a whole lot of expenses. So COGS, so this is cost of goods sold, and or how much I paid to buy the inventory that I end up selling, right? COGS, cost of goods sold, pretty basic term. But let's see how much I actually spent on inventory. So inventory, I actually spent $83,000 on inventory. And that's not include, well, I guess that isn't actually including the inventory I purchased when I was actually doing the math, and I already sent to Amazon. So that actually haven't sold yet. So the number is probably going to be off about a few thousand, the revenue and the net, but that's okay. It's still close enough. But this is how much I spent on inventory. And payroll, let's look at payroll. $26,000. Huh. Ooh, this is my first timer, so it's been 15 minutes just to keep me in track. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible, but it will take a while. So if you don't have time, probably should pause this video and watch it whenever you get a chance, because this will be a pretty in-depth video. So payroll. So one thing about this, although it seems high, but this is on an annual basis. At least it was at first, but when I count from this year, this is actually how much I've paid so far, this year alone. And of course, I have a team of 7, and we'll actually break that down in the at the end of the video. But for my revenue and my team size, I could actually do the same with about 2 to 3 virtual assistants, which is what I pay the payroll for. But because I have a different side to the business, to where I provide leads to other Amazon sellers, stuff they should buy. So I have a bigger team to be able to accommodate for that. But as I scale the business, I'll essentially keep the same team in place. So it'll be the same expense, but I'll get more when it comes to the output because I'll actually be buying a lot more. And I actually break all of that down and stuff. And of course, education, paid for about one or two courses, a total of 4,500, not a whole lot. And now here's a big one. So Amazon fees. So about 55,000. So when you look at this, if I do almost 170,000 in rev, how come I only got paid, 106? Well, because they take this amount at the top. So this is their fee for just selling on the platform. Got to pay Mr. Bezos his money, man, and that's completely understandable. Not There's a ways you can kind of cut on that, which we'll discuss, but for a majority of the time, you pretty much can't run from this. This is the fees for using their platform. And lastly, the software subscription. So let's actually take a look at this. For all the softwares that I use on an annual basis, this is what it comes out to. Not a lot, and you do need this. And of course, this is a write off. This is a write off. You can get away writing this off as well. COGS, you can't write this off. The Amazon fees, I think you can, but you do have to ask your CPA. I'm not a CPA, so, but there are a few things you can do with this. Get some tax benefits. I know that much. So this is some of the fees. So you can see here, although I get paid this, but it's all going towards pretty much all the fees. There's no salary for me on this. First year, you really don't expect that. A whole lot of it is just learning and understanding how do you cut these different costs and actually how do you build a profitable business. And although the business itself is profitable, but you do have to account for all the expenses. And I'll actually show you how I plan on helping with all of that. Now, with the net, let's actually take a look at what we got here. So this is the 106,000, and it's not including cashback. And when I say cashback, guys, if you're not familiar, for a lot of us as e-commerce people, so when we're buying inventory, let's say we're buying socks from Nike or something from Ulta or whatever from Kohl's, there are different cashback extensions that we essentially use when we're purchasing stuff, mainly because we purchase stuff online. So a lot of times you can get 2, 3, 5, maybe even more than that, 5% cash back on some of your purchases. So that 106,000, that's not including that. And I've made a couple bucks from cash back, not a whole lot. And I'll actually break it down for you. So the first one is from Be Frugal. It's one of the extensions, about 341 in the first year. Top cashback, 884, Rakuten, 673, and credit card cashback, about $1,000. It's probably a lot more than that nowadays, but this is just all the cashback, and it's not included in the payout from Amazon. So these are just some of the extras that come with this business. If you're using cashback. Now, let's actually take a look at some more important stuff. Actually look at my data and actually see how the business actually has done, which is another part I want to show you guys. Now, let's zoom out a bit and go to the left here. So, let's see. So this is the time I took the screenshot, and it was about 25K rev, and we're looking at the past 30 days. And this is just, I guess, for proof, no other reason, just to show you I did do 25K rev, and I still do nowadays as well, although I'm recording the video a bit late. This is our BQ. This is another software I use. If you know, you know. AI sales, 23K. And now I'll actually show you some of the profit stuff. So this is Inventory Lab. So now this software, what it does, it pretty much does a lot of the bookkeeping and accounting stuff on the back end for us. And it'll actually show you how profitable you are, because you actually input the cost, how much you paid to buy an item, and then it's actually connected on the back end with your Amazon account. So it'll know how much you sold it for, what the fees that Amazon took from you were, and it'll actually spit out the exact profit that you actually made from each item. So for this one, we're looking at the supplier profitability. I want to put the the actual product because it'll show the exact name of the product. Even though a lot of you guys won't take the time to try to copy the products that I have and stuff, but just to be careful, I didn't want to put that. So you'll see these are the different suppliers, and you'll see the revenue amount from each of them, and then you'll see the actual profit and the actual ROI from each product. So not too bad, and you can pause the video and look at this if you want, but overall the big picture is this. For the past 30 days, essentially, look, last month, I sold over 1,000 units, and out of that 1,000 had about 48 refunds, and the number of that was about 27K. So this was the revenue. 1,000 units pretty much equals 27,000 in revenue, and about $5,000 profit, almost six. And that's the number. And this number will come in handy as we go deeper into the video. But this is what it looks like so far, right? So now that's what I've done. Now let's say if now I want to actually scale to 100,000 in revenue, meaning now I essentially want my profit to be 20,000, right? So 4x. So if I want to do that now, there's a few things we gotta talk about, and we'll actually go and take a look at them right now. So going from 25 to 100,000 will require a few changes. Now let's actually show you lastly this report. So this is all the Amazon fees that I've paid. So I had my bookkeeper put this together. So this is this is a whole lot of stuff. So referral fee, which is pretty much 15% of all the products you sell. So the revenue from the product. So they charge you 15%. So that was about 21,000. Closing fee, 300. All the refunds and all that kind of stuff. So we're actually gonna come back to this. So I'm showing it to you prematurely, but we're gonna come back to this right now. So and all that this stuff's important. We'll come back to this and see how exactly we can build a better business when we try to cut a few of these costs. Now, this is what I've done. Now let me show you. How the team is essentially structured right now and how I plan on structuring it in the future, and some of the changes that I'll be making essentially. So first of all, for my business right now, I have essentially two departments. So one OA and one wholesale. OA is online arbitrage, and in simple terms, this is just referring to I buy something on Nike for 10 or 15, try to sell it on Amazon for 30 or 35, maybe more. So it's just an arbitrage, right? So usually you buy something that's on sale, or if you have a special discount, basic stuff. In wholesale, of course, you're opening accounts with big distributors and wholesalers and stuff, and different suppliers. And you buy stuff in bulk, and then you resell them on Amazon at a premium. So I run two aspects of it. So right now, my business, 60% is actually OA and about 40% is wholesale. And I'll show you how I structure my team to accommodate for that. So first, for wholesale, we have Ren. So Ren essentially is like a field general. So she does a lot of really cool stuff, and she is essentially responsible for managing my wholesale team. And the wholesale team actually has about two product researchers on there, Frank and Wimsell, and they're mainly responsible for scanning catalogs and looking at different products and trying to see if they match our criterias. Compared to OA, which is a bit different, to where we have a Louis, and Louis does close to the same job as Ren, but a little bit different. So for him, although he searches for products as well online, but he also reviews the leads, meaning the products that some of the other product researchers find. So for Louis' case, he's actually pretty much one of my best sourcers, and hence why he got promoted to become the lead checker, right? So Louis and Ren are different because I'll show you why. So let me actually show you. So for Louis, he's our best product researcher, one, and then gets promoted to reviews leads, and of course he publishes the OA data, and that's referring to our weekly performance report and monthly performance report. And like you'd imagine, you want to know how your people are doing. So he's responsible for that. He'll send a report to tell me how many leads so and so provided, how many of them were good, how many were bad, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what he does. Compared to Ren's essentially the best overall team member that I have. So that's why I call her a field general, because she understands both aspects of the business. She understands OA really well, and she understands wholesale very well as well. So she's super versatile. I mean, it's not volatile, not volatile. So she'll review the wholesale leads. She'll publish the weekly performance reports, as well as she'll also provide leads to our OA clients when it comes to the lead providing business that we do as well. And there's a lot of other things she really understands very well that we're not going to get into right now. But as you can see, this is starting to get pretty pretty in depth. So this is a surface level video. And if you think that it was going to be, so strap up, because it's not. And if that's not something you're interested in, you can go ahead and click out of the video. Because this is boring stuff. This isn't glamorous. I'm breaking down a business for you. And I'm not selling you a course, so I don't think I'm going to make it look cute and fun. So setting all of this up it takes time. It takes a year. Maybe I could have done it faster, but it is what it is. And when I talk about the report, I'll show you an example of what a report looks like. So this is Louis' report, for example. So it'll tell you the week, the amount of leads that they submitted, and leads that this is referring to the products that they found from let's say from a website that met our criterias and that is actually on Amazon. So they'll give us the link of the product, the website, the name of the product, the ASIN, what price we should buy it for, the coupon code we should use, and any other additional information that we'd need to be able to purchase that product successfully. So that's a lead. So this is the amount he submitted in this week. And out of that amount, this is how much was approved. So he submitted 15, 13 got approved, hence the approval rate. And for my team, we require a 70% approval rate on a monthly basis. So whenever someone dips below that 70%, now they have some questions to answer. I'm the first guy to send them a message, hey, is everything okay? Did something happen with your relationship? Is your grandma dying? What's going on? If all of these things are no, then I'm asking, why in the world are you giving us these kind of results? And then, of course, they have another month. And if they actually show less than 70% results, approval rate again, for 2 consecutive months, I'm sure you can guess what happens, right? Because we're paying them a salary. It's not a performance base, so it's salary. So there's a standard, right? So that's why you have to track it. If not, you'll get some slackers. Trust me, you don't want that. A lot of guys fell for that stuff. They're too busy running the business. They can't manage the team. People are getting paid, but they're not providing any results. We don't do that over here. So this is one way we mitigate all of that, right? So that's one aspect of it. And wholesale has the same thing as well. So that's how we structure the team. And now you'll see for OA, we have 3 virtual assistants plus Louis, so that's 4. And of course, Ren and Frank and Wimsell. So that's about the 7 we talked about. And you'll see one of them, Reina here. She's color coded differently, and you may be asking why. Is Reina special? Well, yes, she is because she's actually our purchaser. So she purchases products, and the right title for that is a procurement specialist. And procurement pretty much means, I think I may have a definition for it, hopefully. Yes. So procurement, basic definition is acquisition of goods and services. But for our case, just goods. We're not buying services, but we're buying goods online, right? So she does that. And that's pretty much one of her titles. So when we are purchasing, she's purchasing, and when we're not, because I'm not purchasing every day or every week, right? So don't have an unlimited, budget here. So I can purchase for about 2 weeks in a row, spend, let's say, $25,000, and then I stop because I gotta send that stuff in and then wait for my money to come back, right? So we're not purchasing all the time. So the time we are purchasing, she's purchasing, and the times that we're not, she's looking for products. Then she goes back to being a researcher, right? So she's versatile in that sense, and she's really good at what she does. And one of the reasons why I chose her is because she knows what a good product looks like, right? And she knows what a bad one looks like as well. So she knows what exactly she should be buying. So she has access to everyone else's files, their spreadsheets, to be able to look at them and actually go ahead and buy them. And she's one of the ones I actually trust to do it well. She has done it well, hence why she's actually our specialist when it comes to that. And the reasons why I don't do it myself, I used to, and I still do. I'll pitch in and stuff. I mainly purchase wholesale stuff because you gotta, either do wire transfers or use credit cards and all that kind of stuff, which she still does. But this is a little bit more tedious, and I'll handle this side of it, and I'll help her out on the OA side whenever I do have the time. And for her case, why I chose her, we just talked about a few of the reasons, right? One of them, because she understands buy box statistics. We're not going to get into that. She understands IP alert, and she has mastery over Keepa. So Keepa is one of the premier softwares that we use on Amazon. Now, if you're not familiar with any of this stuff, do a little bit of research. I can't break down everything for you, and I'm hoping this conversation is going to be understandable to someone who actually has an Amazon business and that's successful at it, will understand what I'm talking about and find value in it. So this is why we chose her. She understands some of these things, and it's very important, and it's imperative that she does. If not, she'll be making bad purchase decisions, to say the least. Now, let's actually look at the purchasing timeline, which is an interesting one. So first, the product researcher submits the lead. So let's say, for this case, Marianne finds a product from Nike.com. It's some Nike shoes for $20, and on Amazon they're selling for $45. She submits that lead. Now, what does Reina have to do? First, Louis has to review the lead. So Louis, this is our lead checker. So he'll check to see if that lead that Marianne submitted matches and meets all of our requirements. And we'll talk about what some of those requirements are. So quickly, what are my requirements? The fact that the product has to sell at least 50 times a month. That's over the past 30 days. Over the past 30 days, whatever item we buy, it needs to probably have sold at least 50 times. That's the bare minimum. And realistically, I want to be buying stuff that has sold hundreds of times over the past 30 days. So something that moves, right? Something that I can actually buy dozens of and be able to sell. And if they match that, which of course is a few other requirements, like at least a $3 profit, 25% ROI, all that kind of good stuff, right? But if they meet all of those requirements, Louis will then go ahead and approve such a lead. So he'll give it a check, and then Reina, as our purchaser, she'll see that, and then she'll go ahead and actually purchase it. So this is what Reina does. So she'll go ahead and check. And another thing she does as well is actually check the eligibility. because there are certain items that you can't sell on Amazon, right? So although it's on Amazon, let's say the brand itself don't allow third-party sellers to sell it, or they only allow a certain amount of people to sell it, or it's not available for new sellers to sell. So it's very minute and tedious stuff we're talking here, but anyone that knows Amazon knows what I mean by the eligibility. So some stuff is hazmat, some stuff you just can't sell for one reason or another that we won't get into. So she actually has to manually check, copy the ASIN, which pretty much identifies each product. And an ASIN is referring to, it's like a social security number for each product in Amazon, and each one has them, and that's how you're able to identify them. So she goes and copies the ASIN, puts it in my seller account, and sees if I have access to sell it. Now, if I have access to sell it, now what she then does, she checks if there's any cashback opportunities when she's actually checking out on whatever website we're buying from. So Nike, I think they do have cashback from pretty much every cashback website out there or extension out there. So she'll check if the cashback is available. She'll activate it, right? And she'll go ahead with the purchase. Now, let's say once she does purchase the product now she imports the purchase details. Purchase details, I'm referring to the name of the product, the ASIN, right? How much we bought it for, how much we plan on selling it, the date we bought it, where we bought it from, right? What color is it, what code we use, or whatever, what credit card we use, right? What email we use at checkout. All these things, she'll actually put it in our main spreadsheet. And on top of that, she'll export those same details, subtracting a few details that aren't needed to our Prep Center spreadsheet. Now, this is another spreadsheet. Now, what's a Prep Center and why in the world are we exporting details to them? And this is where it gets even deeper, guys. So if you want to know, I'll show you. But if not, you can click out of the video. So that same info minus the email and which credit card we use, she'll export them to this Prep Center. So what the Prep Center is, I believe I have. Yeah, okay. So I have a mind map here for that. So what the Prep Center is essentially is, put simply, it's a warehouse that receives all your inventory. And upon receiving the inventory, they actually inspect all of it to make sure that there are no damaged items or missing items. And after that, they prep and label those items for you, and then they ship them according to Amazon's guidelines. Now, prep centers are wonderful. They save time and a whole lot of other stuff, and I'll show you why. So we have to communicate with these people and let them know, here's what products we have coming in, because obviously they don't have one client, right? So they need to know what's coming in and know how many, right? So if I bought 10 of the Nike shoes, I need to tell them I bought 10, not 8. If they receive 8, they need to let me know, hey, I only received 8 of this. You have a few missing. You should probably check out, why they're missing. Let the company know. So you need to have these things in place. If not, you're gonna have some, discrepancies in your numbers, because you're gonna have a few leaks, right, in your business. So a Prep Center helps with that. Now, why do I use one? So 1, it saves time. 2, saves money, especially state sales tax. So in Florida, for me right now, I have a 7% sales tax. So anything I buy, I pay 7% tax on if they're coming to my current address, either home or business address. Doesn't matter. If I buy something, if it's coming here, I'm paying 7% tax on it. But if I buy and I put my Prep Center's address, which wink wink isn't in Florida, it's in Montana, guess what? I don't pay the 7% tax if I use the Montana address. Instead, I pay 0. So I'm saving that 7%. Now, mind you, if already my first year I already spent well over $80,000 in inventory, in my second year, I'm going to spend 3 or 4 times that. Now that 7% starts to matter, right? So that's why saving it helps a whole lot. And the fact that now I don't have to prep, right? Open so many boxes and just verify how many units. Is this good? Is this broken? I can't do that and make YouTube videos for you guys at the same time. Or I can't do that and manage a team at the same time. Or I can't do that and effectively have a personal life and maintain my relationships at the same time. You just can't. You can try, but it's not effective. And lastly, the third reason is tax benefits. Not just the sales tax benefits, but because the money I'm paying for the prep center is going to be deducted from my taxes, right? So that's essentially going to be a write-off in my taxes. So imagine that. Very, very useful. I mean, prep centers, I can't say enough good things about prep centers. I can't. I really can't. And I'll actually break down some of the maths and stuff for mines, and I'll show you why I love them so much. And I'll show you how I use mines right now. And mind you guys, I can't spend that much time into each thing because I'm giving you just enough so you can understand the whole. But if you're interested in any of this, I'll make videos in the future. But for now, this is generalization, okay? So how do I use mines? So mines, like we talked about, Raina goes ahead, she exports the purchasing details to them. Then they prep and label, and then they ship it out. Now, when it comes to prep and label, let's see. So after they prep and label them, they'll invoice me. So they invoice me. Okay, we're sending about 500 units in total for this day. We usually do shipments Mondays and Thursdays, right? Let's say on Monday, they have received 500 different items, and they're sending them out, and the total for that ends up being, let's say, $700, right? So they'll invoice me. And now, what's really good, and I like the fact that they do this, they use, I think, GoDaddy, and somehow, when they send you the invoice, one of my cashback extension tools actually allows you to activate them to where you get 5% cash back when you pay the invoice. So it's not a regular PayPal invoice or Square or whatever. So the way they set theirs up, which I'm not very sure how they do it, which shout out to them, and I really like that. But whatever invoice they send me, I have the ability to actually activate my Rakuten or Top Cashback on them and save money from the actual invoice, which is really cool, right? And in total, I think I've saved about $389 so far. So even though they're sending me an invoice with the cashback stuff, I can save that much money from them. It's not it's not a huge amount, but hey, man, when you're running a business, all of this stuff starts to count. It starts to count. You're not rich, you're rich, man. You're trying to become rich. It doesn't mean you throw away your money, right? I used to get that misconstrued. I used to think when you have a business, you're a big, shot caller. You don't care about the little stuff, but no. I think Luke 16 verse 10, right? He who is faithful in the least of things, right, is going to be faithful in the greatest things, right? That's actually how I feel, especially about business. Especially as you get better at business, you realize, yeah, 5% starts to matter. It starts to matter, guys. Now let's talk about cost. See, in total, it cost me about almost $8,000 per 3,000 units shipped. So now I had to break this down. So I have to understand now, for every 3,000 units that I end up shipping to Amazon, I get charged this amount in prep fees. Now, if you remember, I had a picture over here of yeah. So this is our P&L essentially. So for 1,000 units, so when I sell 1,000 units, I make about thousand in revenue and about 6,000 in profit. So now, uh, 3,000 units, or not even that, but for a thousand units, how much would you estimate I'd pay in shipping just for the prep center, right? Because remember, every 3,000, almost 8,000 that I'm paying for shipping. Now, let's say for a thousand, how much would you think I end up paying in shipping? Because even though this says I'm getting almost $6,000 in profit, that's not including the prep fee, and that's why I actually have this here. Because I'll show you how you pretty much need to break down the math to make sure that you're actually profitable, man. Because if not, you're gonna be running in circles, and I'll actually show you this. It may seem complicated at first, but don't worry, I'll break it down for you. So almost 8,000 per 3,000 units shipped, which pretty much comes down to $1 per unit, right? Almost, just about. And let's see, I actually don't remember when I initially set this up. Okay, so here's what my thinking process when I wrote this was. So originally, at first, how I did on the back end. So when we were doing our math, I always took a dollar on the back end and always assumed that I was going to pay a dollar per unit in prep fees. But with that logic, I was only accounting for about $3,000 in prep fees. But that's not true now, is it? I'm actually paying a lot more than that. I'm paying a lot more than just a dollar per unit. I'm paying way more than that. So if I were to actually do the math, you'll see if I subtract the 3,000 that I thought that I was supposed to pay from the real amount, there's a huge difference. I'm paying about $4,700 more than I thought I should be paying. And now when I actually break it down a little bit more, I start to realize that the prep cost per thousand units ends up being about 1,598. So for every 1,000 units that I actually send to Amazon, I end up paying this amount just to prep them. And that's not including the fees that Amazon pays, that Amazon takes from me. This is just to prep them. And that's one thing I didn't account for. I'd spend money, right? And never did I think, okay, I got to pay, the prep center. But once I started using them and then these invoices would come twice a week, 400 here, 700 there, I'm like, oh crap, this stuff starts to add up. So now I took the time now to actually break it down, and now I can actually estimate this stuff. Now this seems complex and waste of time, but now if I know I want to have a six-figure store doing 100K a month, and I know every 1,000 units gets me 27K revenue. Now it means I need to buy and sell pretty much 4,000 units on a monthly basis to hit that $100,000 mark. And hopefully you guys are still with me. Now, if I do that, now that means at least I need to have and pay this amount of money 4 times every month just to send this stuff out, right? So that means I need to have a budget for my prep center cost. So that's the whole reason I did all this math for, is because now I need to be able to account for this. Now, if I want to have a 100K monthly revenue store, I pretty much already know I'm probably going to spend about $6,000 just on prep fees just to be able to do those numbers. And of course, hey, that may be upsetting to some of you, but there are tax benefits to it. It saves time, and I'm okay with paying the fee. And now, with those same numbers in mind, you can see that now the true profit starts to change. So for the 1,000 units that we sold and the 25,000 in revenue, we used to assume that I was making $5,000 in profit. But now, if I understand the true number of the prep fee, now I subtract the 1,598 from the $5,000 profit that I thought I was supposed to make, and now it looks like I'm only making about 3,400 in profit instead of 5,000. So I'm getting the true numbers now. And I hope you start to see why this is important. This is crucial. If not, you'll be running a business, you'll see money coming in, you start spending money, but it's not your money. Especially if you start using debt and you think you're making money because you see money in the bank. Hey man, you're gonna get yourself in trouble real quickly. So this small stuff matter. I'm using these examples just so you can understand. And they're not fun to put together, not fun to talk about, they're not glamorous, but this is the truth. And now, if I were to have a 100K monthly revenue store, now would my profit be 20,000 like I thought it would be? Nope. It'll be a little over, I believe, 14,000. That's what it'll be, not 20, because I have to account for this cost. I have to account for this. So you have to account for that in your business as well if you have a similar business model. Now, let's actually look further. So now when I did the math, what it essentially ended up showing me is the fact that I end up paying about $2.6 per unit. So if I buy, let's say, 100 pencils, to prep those pencils, they essentially charge me $2.6 per pencil. Now, if I buy 100 units of the same thing, I get a discount and stuff. They'll pretty much charge me about $1 for each one. But some items require poly bagging. Some items require special prepping, and special care if it's something that's breakable, right? So the numbers actually change. But some of the basic items, I can get them as cheap as a dollar. But some other items are as expensive as $3. And when I do the average and I break down all the invoices I've gotten from them for the past 3 months, this is what the average ends up being. So now, what I do with this number now, I put it into my calculations. And I'll show you what I mean by that. And now, I actually have an example for you all, if I can find it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so here's the example. Here's one product that we've gone, I think maybe 2 weeks ago or something, maybe longer than that. And this is the software we use to do the back end math for us, and to where uh, the cost price is $17. So this is how much we're paying for it to buy it from the company, and we plan on selling on Amazon for 36.37. And with that math, of course, we have the referral fee, fulfillment fee, all the different fees included in there, and the prep fee. Now, the prep fee, that's, remember that I told you guys I anticipated that we'd pay $1 per unit, and then I was I was very wrong. So that was my mistake because we ended up paying way more than that, right? So, but this is what we accounted for. And with those numbers, the profit would end up being about 533, so $5.93, excuse me. And the ROI would be about 34%. That's what we thought, right? With the current numbers. But if I actually change those numbers, especially change the prep fee from $1 to $2.6, let's see how much it changes the ROI and the profit. Hmm. Pay close attention. So it takes it from $5 in profit, almost $6 in profit. Remember, because it was, I think, 598, and it brings it down all the way to 324. And the ROI, remember, before it was 34% ROI, but now it's only 19% ROI. Just changing the prep fee. See how this one small change affects all the numbers. So now I'll actually go ahead and make this permanent starting next month, to where we're going to change the criteria all the way to where we're not going to have the dollar prep fee anymore. It's going to be 2.6, because that's the real number. And I need to account for that. Now, does that mean it's going to make the jobs of the product researchers a little bit harder? Yes, but hey, that's the job. And of course, I'll make a few changes to accommodate and make that easier. But this is what it is. So if you don't know the true numbers, you're not going to be able to account from some of this stuff. So I'm out here thinking I'm making 598 in profit, but realistically, it's only 3. So I was blind, but now I can see because I took the time to break this down. So I suggest you do the same because this is pretty important stuff, right? This is crucial. So I'll just show you guys this as an example. Just how changing one thing from $1 to 2.6 affects all the numbers. And that's one of the great exercises that I did over the past month to help me understand the business a lot more, right? So it's tedious stuff, and I'm not sure if you guys are into this stuff, so I'm still going to record the video and publish it for those that that are interested. But this is what my numbers are. Yours might be different, right? But this is what mine's are. And now, all of this stuff, we're talking about money, but we haven't even talked about where you get the money from to begin with. This is what we're going to be doing now. So this is the last part, so hang in there. It's almost an hour, I know. And I knew it was going to be long. I told you guys. So strap up. So we'll take a look at the funding side of it. So funding, there's pretty much 3 different ways you can go about it. And, to start and build and scale a business, you do need money. You can first go with business credit cards. And then there's different alternatives, of course, investors and, using personal credit cards or anything like that, or loans even. But first, with the business credit cards, you have a few options. So for me, one thing I've worked on recently is building a plum trifecta. I coined the term as of right now, and that's referring to having 3 Amex business plum cards and actually using them for your business. So how I set up mine is have 3 of them. And the Plum card, what it does, it gives you a 60-day payback period. So if you spend $100,000 on the card, let's say today, you have about 60 days to pay it to pay it off. Pretty useful, especially when it comes to carrying the balance. And of course, there's a few things you need to know before you do that, but that's what the Plum card does. Now, I need 3 because I ended up figuring out that it takes me about 2.5 months before let's say, from the time I buy a product to the time my prep center receives it, sends it to Amazon, sells from Amazon, and then I get paid my money back. That takes about 2.5 months, so 2.5 months. So now I need funding that helps me schedule that. Now, a regular credit card doesn't allow you to do that. Or a regular charge card, let's say an Amex Gold or any other card, you need to pay that thing off in 30 days. What happens if you don't have your money back in 30 days? Now you got to pay it out of pocket or whatever else you got to do. I've ran into these issues before. It's not fun, but if you set up, let's say, a plum trifecta, which I recently did, and it's not completely up to speed yet, but I got all the 3 plums, and I'm going to start using them, and that's essentially how I'm going to scale to 6 figures, right? So I use one this month, one the next month, and one the third month. And you only use one every month, and as you already put the spend on the first one, right? You send the inventory, that stuff is selling, and as you pay it back over the next 2.5 months, the next month you don't have to use the first one, you're going to use the second one and the third one. And that way, they're each paying for themselves and others and leaving you profit, essentially. And that's actually something that's a little bit more complicated than that. And I'm not going to spend the time explaining it to you, but I hope you get the picture. And if you don't, I'll talk about it more. But this is one thing I've done. And of course, no, I don't have all 3 under my name. I actually don't have none of them under my name. Because although I have a 780 credit score, Amex just doesn't like my name for some reason. So, and of course, that's not true. It's just my age of credit history, right? So at 21, only had 3 years of history from 18 to pretty much 21, and they're not very fond of that, so they never approved my applications for that card. And I've applied dozens of times, maybe 1 dozen, so about 12 times in the past 2 years, and have been denied all 12 times. So what I've done is examine my network. What other business owners or any other individual with good credit that I know that I can essentially offer some sort of contract to get the card and let me use the card, put me as an authorized user, sign a contract saying I will use this card for business purchases, make an agreement. Let's say we do 70/30 to where any inventory I purchase on the card every, let's say, 2.5 months, right? Whenever I get the money back, I give them 30% of the profit I made from the item. I keep 70. And if the item doesn't make profit, then they don't get profit because I didn't make profit, right? So, and then I'm responsible for all the debt that is on the card. Very simple. But now if you don't have a network, you don't know people you can, you know, convince to let you use their no preset spending limit business credit cards, that's a different conversation. And that's something, honestly, guys, I've been fortunate to have in my life. And of course, a lot of that comes from being someone that's respectful, someone that's hardworking, someone that's trustworthy. And you need a plan, man. And of course, it's easy to convince older folks, right? If you're young and you're getting money, they see you working hard, and you can create a contract, explain it to them, they'll help you. I mean, people want to help young people, build businesses and do big things, especially, and you have to put yourself in their positions. A lot of people past 40, their lives are pretty simple, very boring. Now, when a 21-year-old that's good talking, smells good, looks good, and knows what the hell he's talking about, brings them a contract for something like this, explain the business, it's easy for them to say yes and actually sign up for something like that, at least in my experience. And these aren't people that know you for 2 weeks or something. These are people that have known you since you were a teenager, maybe even earlier. And they've seen your progression and they've seen your growth, right? And then they trust you. So, mind you, all of that plays into that to be able to convince 3 people. And I have about 2 more I could say, let's do this, right? But I only need 3. But in the future, I may mess around and actually get 2 more and get 5. Hey, I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but if you can, you can. If you have the network, you can do stuff like this. Now, if you don't, you just can't. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to pull this off, and this will revolutionize my business. 3 months from now, when I make another video updating you guys, you'll see when I have it all together, and I'll provide more detail. But this is high level stuff. You won't see it anywhere else. Trust me. That's why I'm not sharing more about it right now. Now let's take a look at alternatives. So alternatives are Viably, Kickfeather, and AccrueMe. So what these are, they're funding companies essentially, and they'll fund you so you can actually purchase more inventory for your Amazon business. So what they do, they actually log into your Amazon business. So you give them access. They can see all your sales history, all the inventory you currently have on hand, and then they'll give you money to buy more inventory. And especially for Viably, man, they are great. The first time I've used them was last month. So they gave me $5,000 in funding for about 2 months. And out of that 5,000, I think it's 3 different payments, I think, right? Or maybe 4. Something like that. To where I pay about 1,300 something back, maybe every 2 weeks or something. And in total, when you end up paying them back, they give you 5,000, but you end up paying them back, I think, 5,275. Super low interest. And what's really good is they have a checking account that they give you. And with the same checking account, that's where they put the money. You can issue yourself different virtual debit cards, and you can name them. Now, this is so useful because when you have a business, let's say one end you're doing payroll, one end you're doing software, you're paying software subscriptions, you're doing inventory, you can start to issue these different debit cards and name them. This debit card is for payroll. This one's for software. This one's for shipping, right? For the prep center. So you use them for one specific use, and at the end of the month, it categorizes your spending, and it gives you this beautiful in-depth graph about where the money's going. I mean, it is great. Super low interest, and on top of that, guess what? Any money you spend from those accounts, there's a, I think it's five, is it 5%? Or I think it's 2% cash back. So this is a checking account with cash back. Have you, I don't know about I've never heard of that. So any money you spend on the account, you're getting cash back. This is just crazy. And now this is brilliant on their end to gain your business. I mean, they've done a great job, man. I can't say enough good things about them. Cake Further, they're a little bit harder. I think for them, you need to have sold at least, I think, $400,000 in the year to even qualify. And this year, I think I've sold for about 100 and something already. So I just don't qualify for this. So I don't. But it's a similar model to where they fund you. And if there's a slightly different, I believe they take money from private investors and then they'll give it to you and stuff. But these are alternatives you can look into. Stuff that I was never told to look into. I just found it by doing my own research. And Accrueme is very similar to Viably, just without the great checking account. Viably is better than all of these, in my opinion, because I've used it. Haven't used them yet. So I definitely recommend you take a look at Viably. I think they give you a link. I'll see if I have some sort of affiliate link and give it to you. But that's if I remember. I probably won't. So look at it on your own. They're great, man. They're awesome. And in the future, what my main goal is actually be able to transition my whole business to their account. So change everything to that specific account because of the cashback I'm getting. Any money that you spend on the checking, you're getting cash back. I mean, just think about that. Especially if you have a business, you have a retail business, mind you. What in the world? The whole business is buying and selling. If every time I'm buying something, I'm getting cash back, dude, that changes the whole business. It makes you way more profitable. We're not talking about just the cash back from when you're buying stuff from the websites or the cash back from when you're paying invoices from the prep center. We're talking about cash back from anything that ends up getting taken out of your business checking. That is crazy. And it is wonderful. And I am here for it. So I recommend you take a look at them. Now, loans. So there's different loans you can take a look at. So there's SBA, there's MCA, and then there's personal. So SBA is just going to be hard to get initially. So I don't even, hey, but if you can, go for it. MCA, avoid this at all costs. Well, maybe not at all costs, but avoid it if possible. If the business is on the line and you have to get, it's essentially like a business payday loan, and they're terrible. Interest is really high. They'll debit from your account every day or weekly, which isn't even a loan, man. This is an advance. So if push comes to shove, you have to get one in 24 hours or in 2 days. Something happens. You need quick cash. You need 5,000. You need 10,000 for your business or something personal. Go for it, but just know it has consequences. I fell for this trap before, and trust me, it starts to add up, man. $100 every day from your account. What happens when you don't have it? Guess what? You get hit with the what's the thing? Overdraft fee. Boom. This is a nightmare. I've talked to guys that said they've seen business owners that have upwards of $15,000 and some of these fees getting taken out of their account on a weekly basis. Now, these are bigger businesses, mind you, right? So car dealerships. So you'd think a business is super profitable, but whole time they're running on some of these advances. Imagine having to pay $15,000, pretty much most of it in interest every week to this company. I mean, this is atrocious. Don't 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 go this route. It's easy. Whenever they offer you quick funding, right? No credit check, no nothing, no nothing. Just submit statements, get money the next day. Just be careful, fellas or ladies. Just be careful. I've been there, I've done that. It has consequences. Avoid it. I recommend Viably and business credit cards or personal credit cards. Or maybe family friend, rich uncle, whatever, man. But this, no. Personal loan, that's for you to decide and stuff. But these are some of the different funding options, guys. And the business credit cards are probably going to be the best. Not probably, but they are the best, especially when you're getting started. And as you get better, Viably, and then kick further and accrue me. So you can actually use all of these at the same time if you wanted to. But I'd rather you simplify it like I plan on doing. My Plum Trifecta and Viably. And that'll make me invincible. That'll get me to 100K monthly rev. And we'll talk more once I get there. So overall, this is what my business looks like so far. So it's a lot of mind maps, and you can see why I use mind maps instead of anything else. Because it's easier to talk through, and I like the flow of them. So this is what I've been up to, guys. So I did leave trading, but I still do manage portfolios and stuff. And I'm profitable this year, crazy enough, right? You wouldn't know, but I think I'll try to upload a few videos about trading in the future whenever I can, but that's not a main priority. This is. I'm going from 25K to 100,000 in monthly revenue. That's the goal for my Amazon business for this year. Now, of course, it's going to get better. Remember, I'm trying to be in that 4%. Guys doing between 5 and 10 mil. That's where I'm trying to get to. But first year, this is what I did. Not too bad, man. Especially a whole lot of learning. The first 3 months, I barely made anything. I was just learning majority of the time, right? So, not too bad. And I plan on getting a lot better. And hopefully this mind map shows you that. And of course, I'm pulling a lot of my punches here in this video because it's already long as it is. And I know a lot of you guys may not have the time. But if you are interested in this, go ahead, take a watch, a listen, send me some comments. I'll take a look at them. Any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have, do not hesitate to reach out. And like always, I certainly hope this video was helpful and insightful to you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.